Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going into part 2 of our How to Ira series, where we're going to be talking about deck building concepts. Whether you're a new player to Ira, whether you're an entrenched player switching over to her, or you just kind of want a little bit more guidance on how to build a consistent and threatening Ira deck, hopefully these deck building principles will help you in your way of doing that, because I've broke it down pretty well, I think, in order to the best help you. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-staying supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Discord down below, the channel membership, as well as the creator sheet, so you can get access to a bunch of our creators. So we're going to go into this. The cool thing about the deck building concept, and this is why I wanted to restart the How to Ira series, is before the Hunted, excuse me, for lack of a better term, we basically had one way to play Ira. Like, it was just, you know, Tiger Stripe Shuko in the arm slot, maybe Breaking Skills if you want to do that for whatever reason. But like 90 to 95% of decks that were being successful at events, even though it wasn't a ton, was that mid-range version. You did see some more aggressive Whirling Mist Blossom lists running around with stuff like Michael's list that did top 8 that did really well. But for the most part, they're like 90% of the deck and play lines were all the same. And so Ira was pretty much, I guess the term would be solved. Not really solved, but it was solved. Hunted, though, brought on a whole lot more stuff. It brought on cards like Dual Threat, Up Sticks and Run, Flick Knives builds. It brought in Push the Point. It brought in like all these different things. Pay in the backside. Like, now we have a lot more tools, and you can do a lot more things with Ira, and we're going to talk about that. So because of that, before it was just a Shuko mid-range version, now we basically have 2 archetypes in Ira for the most part. Now, there is a caveat with this where I'd say, if I had to give an arbitrary number, 70 to 80% of the deck is still the same. There's just some very minute differences in how you attack certain cards, and we'll kind of talk about that. The first one is the more aggressive Flick Knives version. Now, you can make this more mid-range, but typically when you see these lists being successful, they are more aggressive. They have cards like Up Sticks and Run, Push the Point, Flick Knives. They're utilizing Dual Threat with their Kodachis a little bit more, and they're really trying to push that damage, because Up Sticks and Run, when you sequence it correctly, can make your Kodachis very, very threatening, right? You're also, you know, you're just making it to where you can use Flick Knives to keep the chain alive if you really want to, especially if you basically know, based off how much is left in your deck, how quickly you're going to draw a retrieve mechanic, and you can really, you know, utilize this to the fullest extent. So that's like one archetype. The second archetype is the more standard Tiger Stripe Shuko build with mid-range, utilizing the new vest. Now, the vest is used in both builds, but it's really kind of banked on with the Shuko version, where you're using that extra resource from vest to really you know, make up for not having like the on-demand flicking a knife away and then gain a resource you get with Flick Knives. Bloodspatter Vest unlocks a lot of play lines for Ira that she basically could only do before when she was on Tunic, right? Ira, before the Hunted, would look for these power plays with Tunic where you would have like a 3-card hand, right? And you had a blue, spinning wheel kick, and a 2 for 6. Let's just say Command and Conquer, whatever it is. Race face, doesn't matter. You would attack with Kodachi for 1, spinning 1 resource of your blue, attack with spinning wheel kick for 5, spinning 2 resources of your blue, and then you have 1 resource floating, you activate Tunic, and then you CNC for 6. It was very telegraphed, but it was just is what it is. That was the power plays you're looking for. Now with Blood Spatter Vest, because it says whenever a dagger you control hits, you may gain a resource, put a stain counter on it. If it has 3 or more, destroy it. It allows you to basically have an on-demand Tunic counter, and it also allows you to have that first Kodachi be a lot more threatening, especially in the mid to late game. When I'm on a 3-card hand and I hit you and I attack you with a Kodachi first with 2 cards left, you know there's a chance that if you let this Kodachi hit, you're going to unlock my ability to swing basically an extra 6 damage at you, 5 to 6 damage. If you don't let it hit, that's fine. I'll just CNC for 7 with Ira's ability, and then Arsenal my 1 for 5, 1 for 4. But all that to say, there's 2 major archetypes. It all depends on what you want to do. If you want to do like a really like tried and true consistency build that might not spike as much, although you can spike, and we'll talk about that when we get into the deck tech video for both, because I'm going to go over each archetype in depth as far as a deck tech. You can go with Shuko if you want a more aggressive, like, flicking daggers, going crazy build. You can do more of a flick knives version. So those are the two main ones. When it comes to deck building concepts, I'm not going to talk card for card because we're going to save that for the deck tech video, which should be either next one or the one after. I think it's the next one. We have a couple concepts. We have blues. I have notes over here so I don't forget. We have go again attacks. We have finishers, and we have sideboard swaps. Each one of those has a certain number I like to play with on each of them. And I'll show you a graph at the end that'll give you a way to like push and pull on what do you want. Do I want a little bit more blues, a little bit less go again? Do I want a little bit more defensive cards, a little bit less go again? Do I want to be a little bit more aggressive and have more go again, more finishers, maybe less blues, so on and so forth. But the first one being blues. So in blues, you're typically sitting in the 18 to 22 range. I would not go below 18. Even with Blood Spatter Vest being able to give you extra resources, for consistency's sake, because you run a good amount of 2-for-6s, especially in certain matchups, like Aurora, you're running like 6 to 2-for-6s, maybe 8 to 9, depending if you run Weakest Link or not in that matchup. I just run a Race Face with like one Weakest Link, but that's neither here nor there. If you're running against Prism, you're going to be running like 9 to 12 two attacks. So because of that, there's certain times where you're boarding in these 2 costs. You want to have the blues to pay for them consistently with the Kodachi. So 18 to 22 is where I sit. When it comes to the type of blues, you have what the blues on one side versus the blues on the other. The blues on your left as you're watching this video, you can go with the standard 1-power combo cards like Rushing River, Back Heel Kick, Crane Dance, Whelming Gust Wave, Rising Knee Thrust, all of these 1-powers because they have synergy with 2 things. One, they have synergy with Flick Flack if you end up running that. People understand that Flick Flack is a 0-for-4 defense reaction that says if the next card you defend with has the word combo in it, it gets +2 defense. So you Flick Flack for 4, then you block with Rushing River on the next chain link for 5 instead of 3. The other synergy piece is Looking for a Scrap, which we'll talk about here in a second, which is a 1-for-4 that if you banish a 1-power attack action card, when you attack with it, it gets +1 go again, so it's a 1-for-5. That's really good off Ira's ability because if you play on the second chain link, it gets +1 from itself if you banish one of these blues, and it gets +1 from Ira, so it's a 1-for-6 go again, which is just insane value, right? Sorry if my camera is a little bit out of focus. I don't know why I did that. The other one on the right is Rowdy Locals or cards like Rowdy Locals. Some people are running a blue base, which is more utility focused and more just like 1-power. They're looking to use cards like Rowdy Locals, Knives Out, Concealed Blade, Nasty Surprise. These all are still 0 cost, so you can pitch to Kodachis, but they do more like power in a vacuum type things. So that's where those are at. Both trains I think are good. Some people want to be able to play their blues and make their blues more playable, while other people want their blues to enable other things. I don't think either one's like more or less powerful. It just depends on how you like to play the deck. I think like there's a small train of thought, especially in the main purple Discord, that like the combo blues are just useless. It's not really useless when I have 3 Looking for Scraps that get a lot of power to them, and it helps me be more defensive. It really depends on how you play the deck. But 18 to 22 blues is what you're looking at for your blue base. The next one is Go Again Attack. So we have unconditional go again and we have conditional go again. When it comes to unconditional go again, right, you want at least, I would say 12, and this is one that doesn't move for me no matter what type of deck you do. I think you should always have at least 12 unconditional go again attacks in your deck. Cards like Bittering Thorns, Pain in the Backside, Spinning Wheel Kick, that's 9 right there. You could run even more depending on what you're doing. I run Give and Take right now personally, and I'm not saying you have to run Give and Take, but that is something you can run. Even if I just reference my list, I'm not going to pull it up here just so I have it over here. Running also cards like Cut Through. I pretty much consider Cut Through an unconditional go again unless you're playing Enigma. It's almost always unconditional go again, especially if you're on a Flick Knives build. But you want to have around 12 unconditional go again attacks in your deck. That gives you enough cards in order to extend, because you want to be able to do play lines like Kodachi for 1, Pain in the Backside for 4, CNC for 6. Or Kodachi for 1, Pain in the Backside for 4, Kodachi for 1, Torn a Tempo for 5, right? You want to be able to have these extenders. That's what your go again attacks are. They're extenders to be able to then go into your finishers. Now, on top of the 12 unconditional go again attacks, you want to have 3 to 6 what I would call conditional go agains. Even if some of these conditions are very easy to fill, like looking for a scrap is not that hard, I think 3 to 6 is where you're wanting to sit. Cards like looking for a scrap, torrent of tempo, those are like the main conditional go again attacks that you're going to see, but you want to have anywhere from 3 to 6 of these, right? You could even have Soul Beat Strike in the old version of the list, even though it's not as popular anymore. Cards like that. Scar for Scar is another one that's a conditional go again because you have to be lower life, stuff like that. So you're looking at anywhere from total, right? You're looking anywhere from 15 to 18 go again attacks, counting your conditionals. So that's where you're sitting with that. Then you have your finishers. Now, you're wanting to have 15 to 18 finishers in the entire deck, where you're having 12 to 15 finishers in the main board. Some of the more high-priced and high-key finishers are stuff like Command & Conquer, Censor, Erase Face. If you're building on a budget, and don't worry for people watching, we're going to do a budget deck tech as well. I'm going to have a whole video dedicated to like $100 or less IRA build, $200 or less IRA build, so on and so forth. So that's where that's going to go. But 12 to 15 cards in the main board for your finishers. Now, finishers don't necessarily have to have an on hit. They're just like chain enders. So Command & Conquer, Censor, Sound the Alarm, Mauling Key, Take the Tempo. I'm looking at other ones just off the top of my head. Those are like the main ones. Pounding Gale is another one. Erase Face, I think I already said that. Amnesia. Weakest Link, stuff like that, right? Those are finishers. You're going to want anywhere from 12 to 15 in the main board, and you really don't want to go above 15, even when you're sideboarding in and out. That's where you want to be. Then we have what are defensive cards. I would say anywhere from 6 to 9 defensive cards. In very defensive mid-range lists, you're looking to have 9. I personally don't want to go below 6, but some people on really aggressive builds are running just like 3. It all depends on what you want to do, right? So cards like Wax On, Wax Off, Flick Flack, Shelter of the Storm, Sink Below, Fate Foreseen, That All You Got, whatever the case may be, those are ones you should run. The key with this is, and this will go into our now sideboard packages, depending on what you're sideboarding in, there's one big rule with Ninja specifically, and it works even with aggro or mid-range, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're doing a mid-range defensive Ira or you're doing an all-out aggro Katsu. Whatever cards you sideboard in, you want to try to sideboard out the same type of card. For example, I do not want to side in a Calming Breeze, or let's say That All You Got because it's really direct. I don't want to side in That All You Got and side out, Cut Through, because to me that throws off your ratios on what you're wanting to see. If I'm going to side in a That All You Got, I'm going to side out another defense reaction. You want to use That All You Got because it's more useful, right? If I'm playing against a Syndra or against another Ira, I might side out, a Wax On or a Sink Below for a That All You Got. Now, if you are truly wanting to play way more defensive in that matchup, I would side out like a 1-for-5 finisher, like a Torrent of Tempo, or Sound the Alarm for That All You Got if you want to be a little bit more defensive. But try not to side out the other end of the spectrum, if that makes sense, right? For Calming Breeze, same thing. I don't want to side out, looking for a scrap for Calming Breeze. I want to side in and side out similar card types. The only time you can slightly bleed over is if you side in a more defensive piece for a finisher because you're just looking to utilize your Kodachis a little bit more. But you typically want to, keep those the same. So that's kind of where that goes. So all that to say, all that rambling on all those different things, putting it in one pretty picture for you, this is what you're looking at. So 18 to 21 blues. On the left, you see the type, and on the right, you see the total card count. Once you do 15, 18 go again, you're looking anywhere from 33 to 39 cards. Total. 12 to 15 finishers puts you at 45 to 54, and defensive cards puts you at 51 to 63. So on the lower end of everything, if you run 18 blues, you're probably going to run 15 or 18 go again because you're running less blues, but you're going to run more like offensive pieces that don't cost as much because you're running less to cost. So at that point, you're sitting at 36 cards. Your finishers probably are going to be a little less, like 12. So you're looking at 48 and then you're looking at maybe like 6 defensive cards, so you're looking at 51, right? So maybe you have a little bit more room to play with, like, okay, maybe I do want to go up 3 finishers and 3 blues, right? So not all these equal exactly 60, but basically what it does is if you do, you know, if I want to do a heavy blue, heavy defensive list, like 21 blues and 9 defensive cards, that puts me at 30 cards. You're probably going to put, you know, around 15 finishers, which is 45. So now I'm going to be on the lower side of go again, which puts me at 48. So where do I want those last 3 cards to go? Okay, I want 3 more finishers. Okay, I want whatever the case may be, right? So it allows you, it's not going to be an exact 60 card science, and it shouldn't be, but it's going to allow you to like push and pull. Do I want more go again and less blues? Do I want more blues, more defensive, less go again? Stuff like that, right? So that's kind of where I look at things in terms of card count. So you can screenshot this and use this. Again, this isn't exact science. I want to have a little bit of skill expression on what you all want to put in it. So it's not meant to exactly equal 60. It shouldn't. So that's kind of where that is. But hopefully this made sense for you and gave you like a strong basis if you're building your first Ira deck, even if you're balling on a budget, right? If you don't have all these high priced cards, you can use the exact same principles I'm using here. It doesn't matter what type of cards you have. Your finishers can literally be, you know, Brutal Assault, Freewheeling Renegades. I'm naming off like random stuff. Cadaverous Contraband, whatever the case may be, right? You could have bulk. It doesn't matter. It still can equal out these ratios. So hopefully this made sense. If it did, let me know in the comments below. If anyone out there who plays Ira a lot has a different way of approaching things, put it down in the comments. It's totally fine. This is a way to do it. I would love to hear your thoughts as well and get your feedback. But thank you all so much for watching this. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not me, it's completely fine. Like it really is. I implore you, go down to the creator sheet below in the description, look up other content creators, find their stuff. Let's get more people seeing this game. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank you all so much. Y'all have a great day.